You ever thought about taking a year off and moving to France? I'm speaking with artist Caroline Jeppesen, who did just that with her family. Bonjour, Winederlusters. My name's Jeanene and I love wine travel. And in this season, we are leaving Australia and we're heading to beautiful France. I'm speaking to a bunch of wine lovers and wine experts that have lived and worked in France. And we learn all about different regions outside of the capital. And I share a couple of my tips. So grab yourself a glass and let's get exploring. This is the last episode of our Detour to France series. And we're taking a little bit of a detour from wine, although we do touch on some excellent rosé in the area. I'm speaking with a friend, Caroline Jeppesen. Back in 2019, her husband and her took their 3 young children off for a gap year, spending 9 months in France. And she shares all the nitty-gritty of what visas to get and how she found the place and things for you to consider if you'd love to do the same thing. This episode is such a treat. Please welcome Caroline Jeppesen. Thank you so much for joining me today. So Caroline, tell me about your artwork, because you're very prolific on TikTok and Instagram with all your paintings, and people send you commissions to do.
I've done a few, yeah. It's a relatively new hobby. I guess I've always played around with paint, but I didn't start trying to paint things that look like things until COVID, really. So I guess, yeah, I've been calling myself an artist for let's say about 4 years.
I'm so excited to have you today because you did a family gap year.
We did, yes.
In France, and I am so curious as a former travel agent all about the nitty-gritty of how you made that happen.
I guess I should start by saying it's not something that I ever dreamed that I would be able to do. It's not, it wasn't a lifelong, desire or anything. It all started when we were living in Melbourne and I decided that I wanted to be on a beach in the south of France for my 40th birthday, which was still a few years away at that time. And so I, put this to my husband and he said, absolutely, sounds like a great idea. So I started looking into flights and accommodation. Again, it was a few years away, but I was just a bit of daydreaming.
You've got 3 kids too. So, just even the cost and that, you need to plan and save up and so forth.
Indeed. Yeah. And funny you should mention the cost because 5 tickets to France was crazy expensive. And so at that point I thought, well, we better stay for more than a couple of weeks just to make sure we're getting our money's worth. So when we went, my youngest was 5 and the other 2 were 7 and 8. So still quite young.
Yes.
But I looked into flights and accommodation and I decided, yes, okay, we need to stay for at least a month. So we started making those plans. And then I found some accommodation that had monthly rates. And I was like, oh, wow, that's actually quite affordable. So, and I thought, oh, we've got long service leave coming up. So I said to my husband, mate, what if we made it 3 months? And he said, oh, yeah, okay. At the time, he was working in Geelong and I was working and we were living in Melbourne. So he had quite a commute. And so he jokes that every time he came back from Geelong, I'd extended the trip by a month. Because, at that point, I was like, 3 months, oh, we may as well make it 4, And then it was 6 months. And then I said, well, been planning to move back to Canberra. What if we did it in between moving back to Canberra? So we don't have a household, so we'll pack it up in Melbourne and we will, put it all in storage. And then when we get back, we'll move back to Canberra.
Then you've got no living expenses here that you're paying for.
Exactly, yeah. Which makes all the difference, I have to say. And at that time, I had long service leave. I had 4 months of long service leave and I had 8 weeks of annual leave, which I was able to take all at half pay, which is essentially a year at half pay. So you're not paying a mortgage or the rent on the house that we owned was paying that mortgage. You're not paying any bills or expenses here in Australia. So half pay was actually quite, a reasonable amount to be going along with as a starting point. Obviously, we needed some savings as well. And so the villa that we found, and this is what clinched it being a full year, the villa that we found in the off season, it was a 4-bedroom villa with a pool.
Sounds awful.
And it was half the rent than the shitty 3-bedroom house we were renting in Melbourne.
Wow.
So it was a no-brainer, really, at that point. I should say that villa in the high season was 4 or 5 times more expensive than our
So it's
rent.
all to do with things like the time of year that you're travelling and not having those expenses and everything. Yeah, that's excellent.
Absolutely right. So the villa that we were in was in a very small town in the south of France near the Spanish border, so on the Catalan region, on the Mediterranean. So it was about... Perpignan is the biggest city. That's the capital of the department. But the nearest big city really was Barcelona, at about an hour and a half away. We were about 25 minutes from the Spanish border. We used to pop into Spain for some groceries. It was wonderful. But it's a holiday town. And so during the off season, so from September all the way through to May, had about 12,000 people.
Wow.
In the summer, 100,000.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, so those 3 months, it goes into this party summer. It's got a long sandy beach, which is quite unusual in the south of France. So that was what made it such a popular holiday town. But it also means that a lot of accommodation is sitting empty for those other months of the year. And that was how we were able to get accommodation for those 9 months really cheaply. I think it's an important thing to note, because if you're traveling places in the off season, you're going to save a whole lot of money. It's also more sustainable. So a lot of places like Santorini and Barcelona are really pushing back now on tourists coming during the high season, because it just makes the city swell. People can't live there, and you get to see more of what the actual town is like, not the facade that they put on for tourists during that season. So I think it has some benefits in a lot of ways.
Did you make many friends there? Was it very easy to meet the locals?
Look, I'm not going to say it's his fault.
Oh, because you do speak French, don't you?
I speak French. When I was younger, I worked as an au pair in France. So my French was reasonable, and the children had all gone to bilingual schools here, so their French was also pretty good. Matt speaks... Well, by the time we left, he could order any number of beers or baguettes up to about 10. And he could say please and thank you and hello and that's about it. So not enough language to make friends with French speakers, really. We did meet a lovely couple who we're still friends with now. He was Irish, she was French, and they spoke mostly English, I think, to each other at home, although they were truly bilingual. And so that was really lovely to have them to, ask if we'd done the wrong thing or, ask advice, and they were fabulous. So if you don't speak the language, do try and find someone to help you out. Although that's the other benefit, I guess, of going to a holiday town in the off-season, because there are quite a few people who will be able to speak English. You tend to get a better reception if you speak French, but... that's just the general rule when you're travelling. And
your kids also went to school there?
They did, yes. One of the conditions of the visa, and also we would have done it anyway, was that the kids had to go to school. I had no intention of homeschooling them. And
just as well, because this is just pre-COVID, wasn't it?
It is, yes.
So then you had to come back and do homeschooling anyway.
Indeed.
So.
And I can tell you, I made the right call, not homeschooling them during our travels. So yes, we put them into the local primary school. Now, when you ask about, the visa and things, it was actually a little bit tricky, because one of the conditions of the visa was that we had to show that we'd enrolled the kids in school. But you can't get the visa until 6 weeks before you go. And you have to make an appointment, and you have to go to Sydney to the consulate to apply. So we're making all of these plans 18 months in advance, without actually knowing if we're going to get the visa.
So what type of visa is it?
It's a long stay tourist visa. So the conditions of that are that the children have to go to school and we're not allowed to work.
And so that's for more than 3 months?
Correct, yes. So under 3 months, you're covered by the standard tourist visa. And I think there's other countries around Europe where there are reciprocal visa arrangements over and above the Schengen visa arrangements. So if it's not France that you're interested in, Spain, for example, I think has more relaxed visa arrangements. Italy, I think, does as well. So some of those other countries might have an easier arrangement in terms of that administrative path, I guess. And the French are known for bureaucracy. So
what a unique experience for your kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And my youngest, she was just turned 5 when we got there, so she was starting school as well. So she started school in another country on the 3rd day we arrived.
Wow. And having to speak a different language.
Having to speak a different language. And she probably spoke the least out of anyone of the kids. So
well, the other 2 had been at the bilingual school.
Correct.
And
yeah.
And did they struggle with that, or did they love it, or how did they go?
Emily did a little bit, my youngest. The other 2, fish to water, no problem at all. And we had plenty of time for hobbies because as we weren't allowed to work and the kids had to go to school, that was 4 days a week, because in France the Wednesdays is a day off for primary school kids.
Do they have longer school days then?
They do, yeah. So it's 9 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Wednesdays off for primary school and only Wednesday mornings for high school. And so, we used to have our Wednesday activity day and go and see something in the area. So like a butterfly farm or a museum or something like that. But it was nice to have a couple of hobbies. We also, drank a lot of tea and wine, but not during the school day very often.
Yes, that could be dangerous actually, yes, yep.
And my husband played golf. So I wasn't a painter when we spent our year in France, and that would have been another aspect. I had a couple of reading and other kind of hobbies, playing the ukulele.
How cool!
It was pretty fun actually, because we had a few songs that we knew as a family, and I'd have the ukulele in the front seat of the car when we were driving around, and we'd sing along to the Spotify playlist, and it was a really wholesome kind of fun family memories. So you asked about how we chose the area. So we, in the end, the town chose us. I think we had a list of things that we wanted. So needed to be within, say, 25 minutes of the beach. We didn't want somewhere where we had to deal with snow. Certainly could go to the snow, but not during the day. Didn't want to have to manage. We wanted somewhere that was close to a golf course. So again, a 25-30 minute drive, and a golf course that didn't charge super rich people fees. So there were some that had a €100,000 entry, and then you still had to pay your fees. So that was it was crazy for a lot of the really fancy ones. So this was a lower market golf club. It had to be somewhere where I could do French courses. So I was studying a couple of hours a week and doing some online stuff as well. We needed somewhere that we would have a school nearby, walking distance to a school, and big enough for all of us. Ideally a pool, but that was we had a little nice to have list as well. And so we sent a few kind of feelers out to a few different houses that we found. Airbnb didn't have the monthly feature that it has now, so that might be a good place to start. But we also looked for, holiday lets and long-term lets and things like that, and then sent inquiries. What would the rate be for off-season for 9 months? And the house that we actually inquired about was managed by an English guy, Bob. He lived in France with his wife, Hélène, and he managed 6 or 7 properties. And the house we had inquired about, he said wasn't available. But because I'd kind of described what we were trying to do and what we're trying to achieve, he said, this house might be perfect for you. It's right in the middle of a town, and it's got all of these features that you're after. And so we ended up renting that one through him.
Oh, wow.
So it was, it all came together. And there were some that I inquired, but also said, and we don't know, we won't be able to confirm until 6 weeks before, because we don't know if we've got the visa. And that put a few people off. And we were still going to go if we didn't get the visa. We were still going to go for 3 months. And then we had some other sort of tentative, then we might go to Canada, or we might go, to somewhere else. So we had started to think about what that contingency might be. But I think it would have been tough financially and administratively.
Yeah.
They have 5 terms, so they go from September through, they have an October break, and they have a 2-week break then. So we went to Barcelona and Greece, and we went to Santorini, Paros, and Athens.
Awesome.
So that was that school holidays. And then the next school holidays coincides with Christmas and New Year. We went to Paris, Strasbourg, and then a theme park called Futuroscope, which is mostly like 3D, 4D experiences.
Oh, right.
It was wonderful. We spent
France.
in France,
Yep.
yes. And for a long time afterwards, when people asked Emily what her favourite country was, she would say Futuroscope.
So where is that located in Strasbourg?
Near Toulouse.
Toulouse,
So
like
actually,
down south.
yes, on the way back. So we spent Christmas in Strasbourg with one of our former au pairs, which was just divine. Snow and beauty and Christmas markets, and then went through Paris, and then New Year's we spent at Futuroscope, which was lovely.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then the other school holidays we went to Portugal, to Porto, and came back through parts of Spain and San Sebastian, which is now my husband's favourite place in all the world, mostly because of their pub crawl culture.
San Sebastian is a great city. And you were saying that this is also like a rosé region.
Yes, the wine was a very big bonus of our stay. We had a lot of visitors. That was part of the motivation behind getting a 4-bedroom place for, I guess, the 5 of us. We had, I think, 20 people total come and stay with us at one point.
I know, we just missed out. We were coming in July and you'd moved on.
Down the road at the plage, the beach, there was a little cave cooperative, which is the cave is a cellar, but this was a little kiosk type thing. And it was basically a wine cooperative. So all of the wine producers in the region, if they've got excess, they'll sell a barrel to this little cave, and you can go down and you can collect wine, or you buy wine by the litre. And we're talking €2 a litre, and you take down your own bottle, or they do sell casks there as well. But you'd see people with these, 6-litre water jugs coming down and getting them filled up with some of the best wine I've ever tasted.
Wow.
And no preservatives as well, because it's straight in there. And I had one friend who usually gets quite bad headaches from wine, and she called it magic rosé because it was preservative free and no hangovers, no headaches. So magic rosé in the south of France.
That's awesome.
For €2 a litre. The little town that we were living in, you could see the Pyrenees all around, and the Mount Canigou, which is quite significant in Catalan culture, and in most of the year it has snow on the top of the Canigou. But we were about a 45-minute drive from some snowfields.
Yeah, wow.
So a couple of times we headed up and, just had a day playing in the snow. No skiing for us on an overseas trip. We did end up with one broken arm regardless. But on one occasion we went up, we're playing in the snow one day, and then the next day we were on the beach in our swimmers. There's not many parts of the world where you can do that.
No, not at all.
Granted, the water was very cold. We didn't do too much swimming, but...
Oh, how fantastic. Is there anything that you would do different? Did you, what lessons learned did you get from your trip?
Yeah, not a lot, actually. I think I would have waited another year so that the 3 kids were in the same school. But... had we waited another year, we would have gotten caught up in COVID. So I think everything happens for a reason. The plan was to be away for a full year, and so we spent 9 months in Europe. Then after France, we went to Italy, Slovenia, Slovakia, Hungary, Czech Republic, bit of Germany, and then over to Asia. And we went to Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. And actually, that part of it, while it was fantastic, we were there in a very, very hot, it was just before the wet season, so it was stifling, particularly Cambodia, and there was no relief. So I think I would still go there in that period of time, but I'd definitely make sure it was a place with a pool.
Yeah.
I think there's some things that we scrimped on and there's some things that we splashed out. And so I think there would have been some things that I would have made slightly different choices in that regard. But I guess the other thing is with a family of 5, you do need to be planning ahead. You can't just go, oh, we want to go to here now, where you might if you were travelling alone or as a couple. So you do have to make sure you've got that sort of plan in place of where you're going and for how long. In that period, so we travelled for a full 3 months. And one thing that we did was we made sure we had not lots of short stops. So we would have one short stop and then one long stop, stay somewhere for a week, so that you can sort of get into that rhythm and have a few rest days and not feel like you're on the go constantly. So that was definitely something that was helpful.
I completely agree. I think even just having the one child, it's a change of mentality when you travel. It's a go slower mentality.
By the end of it, the kids were very sick of castles in Europe. And then by the end of the Asia component, they were very sick of temples. So you just have to pace yourself and not get too hung up on seeing everything and doing everything. A lot of it is just the experience and doing that together is really nice.
No, I agree. Oh, thank you so much. That's so excellent. That's such great advice, and certainly giving me ideas of what I would like to do in the next few years with my little boy. So that's awesome. Wonderful. Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. I always love talking about my time in France. It really was life-changing, I have to say. My husband and I were very kind of career focused before we went. How can we get the next promotion or climb that particular ladder? And coming back, it was all about, well, that doesn't matter. The only things that matter really are what happens outside of work. And so how can we now maximise that? So it's changed our perspective on pretty much everything.
Wow.
And we're now pretty much geared towards retiring early and doing some more slow travel.
Oh, that sounds good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Living the dream.
Here's hoping.
Thank you so much for listening. You can subscribe now to get each episode as they drop. You can also check out this podcast on YouTube and see pictures of the region and the people I've spoken to. Go to winederlust.au, that's WINEDERLUST.au for everything discussed today. You can also subscribe to my newsletter to hear all about my upcoming events and other news. Till next time, happy wine travels.